Boom. Welcome back. It's great to be here again with Roni. We've done an interview before, which has been a lot of fun. And Roni, it's a real pleasure to have you back on. How are you doing today?
Hey Tom, it's great being here. Yeah, it's wonderful. I'm doing great.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And you're calling out of Tel Aviv today, right?
I am, yes, very sunny, very warm, lots of air conditioning here. And in Israel, we're very accustomed to it, so we're all prepared.
Yeah. And I heard there's so what I wanted to talk to you today and for everyone watching is very exciting because the last time we spoke was around a really awesome initiative, and you've come back again with another brilliant initiative, which is why I said to your team, I want to get you on, Ronnie, and look at what you're doing, look at what KPMG is doing, look at how your role's changing to this initiative and what it's going to bring. So maybe to give us a bit of insight, tell me what this KPMG Digital Future of Workforce Hackathon is, or Digital Future of Work Hackathon is, because I was
Exactly.
saying to your team, I love hackathons, and I remember when I was in tech roles before, it's such a great way of bringing people together, getting new ideas, and would love to hear all about it, Ronnie.
Yeah, and something funny, Tom. One of the participants in this event actually came to us later on. He said, "You know what? Hackathon does not do justice with this event. It doesn't actually, capture what it was." So yes, we did a 2-day hackathon with the purpose of actually looking at this whole concept of the future of digital work from a fresh new prism, which is basically a 360 degrees view of what is going to be the digital future of work. Now, when we are looking at that, we're actually asking ourselves, okay, who are the different stakeholders here? Like, who's going to define this? Who's going to shape and mold this future? And who actually has insight to what this is going to look like? Obviously, first we thought, of our different ecosystems and of ourselves, because we actually do this. We've been doing this for quite a while. We've been looking at, work. We've been looking at digital aspects of life and work, and we are definitely looking at the future. And we talked about this last time we spoke, right?
Yeah.
We're looking at the future of 2030 and 2040, and basically looking at the multiple horizons ahead. But then we're also looking at who are the different stakeholders, and we're looking at our ecosystems, our different ecosystems. Obviously, the largest and most powerful ecosystem that we have is our clients, our customers. When we're looking at our customers, we're really looking at that depth of knowledge, that really vast understanding of the market. They are the market, so we really wanted to work with that ecosystem, and we're really happy with having BP. As a customer that wanted to join this journey with us and look at that, as they're already looking at the future of digital work.
Yeah.
So we had BP join us, and then we're looking at another great ecosystem that we work with, which is our alliance partners. And we Microsoft's report on future of work has come out recently. They're really diving into that area as well, and it only made sense for us to kind of have them along in this journey. And then finally, we wanted to have an academic partner to really think about, what are the different aspects that are changing this, and really look at a scientific aspect of this, but also bring another type of view into the table. So we had the guys from Cambridge join us, and that's an amazing opportunity working together with the University of Cambridge. So we're really, really lucky to have those three different types of ecosystems work with us. And again, we talked about this last time when we spoke. Working together with our ecosystems is a big part of what we do at KPMG around innovation. It's actually working together, thinking together. So when with all of these different stakeholders around the table, all super interested in the digital future of work, all looking at that already, but all also going to be a significant part of shaping that future. We said, okay, then we have everyone we need. So we basically dedicated 2 whole days into just kind of diving into what does that mean. And well, I have a lot to say. I don't know if you have any specific questions
I've
you
got
wanted
loads
to
of
ask
questions.
about how we did it. But basically,
Yeah.
we started by having the right people at the table from a variety of of backgrounds, and different types of cultures, and we also brought in KPMG teams from all around the world. So we had we did this physically in the Ignition Center in the UK office, but we also had teams joining us from the US, from Australia. We had teams coming in from Switzerland and joining us. So it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, to have all that kind of new insight and new kind of people with different ideas on board, because it seems like, and I want to look at a bit more about how you progress this and how you got this underway, because you were talking about it there, but maybe just delve into that a little bit more. But I remember when I was at South by Southwest, they were saying, like, when you combine, Ronnie, the intellectual side and the academia side with the business side, like, the results are phenomenal. Like, you really, and it seems like that's what you're kind of building through the ecosystem. And I think we said it on the last time when we discussed the podcast and what you're building around there, to really have that two different mindsets, because you're driven towards the same sort of outcome, might be slightly different the outcome, but how you get there, you can really start collaborating, right?
Right. And the amazing thing is, again, I was mentioning this, that all of these parties that took place, that took part in this event, we're all already looking at the future of work and future of digital work. But the University of Cambridge is actually the group that joined us in this hackathon, has a great deal of expertise and are really exploring this area of future of work. And so we were really fortunate to have them kind of bring on in those different aspects and different ways of thinking about that, how this is going to affect our lives as well.
Yeah, I love that. And how did it come about then with getting these companies on board and getting these brands and organizations? So you said Microsoft, you said BP, Cambridge University. How did this all come about? Was it just having an idea and thinking this is what we need to take forward, or was there some sort of inspiration behind it and thinking, who do we know that wants this similar outcome? How did it come to what it is now and form to what it is now?
Well, when we built our view on global innovation, we've all actually built a structured way to work with our ecosystem. So basically, every question we tackle, every initiative that we start driving, we're thinking about how could we work with our ecosystems, and basically those are the major ones that are our customers, our alliance partners, and our academic partners. So it's not a coincidence. Those are the three, natural partners for us to work with, natural alliances, natural ecosystems that we want to work with, and that we work with on a continuous basis. So we've done quite a few things together with those ecosystems. So, and then specifically, how did the future of work and specifically future of digital work come by? So I think a couple of things. One is this is a topic, as I mentioned, that the University of Cambridge is exploring, and we're doing quite a bit of work together with them. And then at the same time, our customers have also kind of raised this again and again in different discussions that we have. Yeah. And then lastly, throughout our Shaping 2040 publication, the topic future of work has come up significantly as something that's going to change dramatically and have a significant effect on our lives. So it's going to be a driver, but also an outcome, if that makes sense. And we said, okay, this is something that we have to explore. Now, this is not a one-time exercise. We're actually exploring quite a few different things throughout the year. And each time we tackle it, we're actually getting together with some of our ecosystems. This time we made it, more of a large event, and we wanted to really make it like a huge celebration. But also, it's not just really getting together and discussing the topic. That's not what we did. Yeah. We actually wanted to approach it in a way that says, hey, if you remember when we came out with a Shaping 2040 publications, we said, we either shape the future or be shaped by it. So we said, okay, we have an amazing opportunity to shape the future, right? How do we shape the future? We actually think about what could be something, a tangible, outcome, initiative, asset, product that we could go to the market with, and actually that would help shift and drive the future of digital work into a place that would create a change for better. So that's what it was all about. It was all about how could we actually create something? What would that creation be? And that was the question that we gave to the different teams. So we really structured it in a way that we created smaller teams. Each one of them that was really had those different ecosystem players within that team. And we asked them to think about what could they create to really bring forward that future of digital work.
I love that. And I think
Yeah.
the word that stuck out to me for all of that brilliant information, Ronnie, was you were saying it's a celebration, which I think is the best way of looking at it. It was like looking at it as like, well, let's celebrate this and let's see what we can do. And that to me just completely twisted my mindset on what I think about this program, because it's looking at it as like I always say, like we're interviewing people, not to go off track, but we're interviewing people and we interview people from medical field. So we interviewed people from Alzheimer's research, like use machine learning and graphical charts and everything like that. And they always say we don't look at things as being right or wrong. We look at things as why, which kind of seems like what you're saying there, like really challenging it, like really not saying it's right or wrong, but really questioning it, right? And looking at what you can get from it.
And I also think it's a celebration because everyone around the table had an opportunity to speak up, to say what they thought. And that was within a small group, like that was, accepting everything that had been said and really asking, okay, will this impact our people, our organization or other organizations? Will this really impact the future of work and digital work, for that matter? So, they held that discussions. We didn't have that as like this, an agenda coming in from any one of the organizations. It was really about the people themselves. So that is a celebration of, mind and thinking and coming together from different disciplines.
I love that. And what do you think then, Ronnie, with what you saw? So we looked at the Impact 2040 report that you did before and doing this hackathon that you've got going on at the moment, which is Digital Future of Work. Do you see, since we last spoke, or maybe it has changed, maybe it hasn't, or in this hackathon, certain key topics that are going to emerge, that are going to be important for businesses or partners or whoever it might be to consider of how, as you said, shaping 2040? Are there key topics that you're seeing emerging, or you think that will be popping out through the hackathon? Would it be things around talent shortage or metaverse? Yeah, I'd love to know.
It's really interesting because, we were thinking about these really large themes of the future, right? Yeah. And part of that is metaverse. You just mentioned that, right? Everyone's talking about the metaverse, and we were figuring out, probably this is going to be a huge chunk of what we're going to be talking about. And yes, we did have very exciting. One of the ideas around metaverse was around building these platform of co-building and co-experiencing in virtual rooms. That solution is called Rooms. So that was super exciting and actually, kind of building on themes like the future collaborative economy of builders. So that really resonated well. And it was looking at, kind of virtual rooms for rent, but also creating that, that community of builders and a communal type of ecosystem where you can contribute into that platform as well, not just be contributed by it. So we love that. But a lot of the ideas, this really knocked us off our feet, were so simple. And just thinking about a specific problem that you need to tackle that will make an impact. So in terms of even if you think about that whole very big problem of talent, there's scarcity of talents in certain areas, almost all areas, because at the moment what we're seeing is that there's more and more need for working hands, be it digitally or otherwise. How do you tackle that topic? And we're thinking about all of things, but the one of the solutions that came out of here, the initiatives, is a solution called the Good Job Tool, which found a really, really cool, neat way to tackle that topic, which is really looking at the available, talent and capabilities out there and bridging that gap. So simple, so genius. You're publishing an ad, I need this, that, or the other. And these are the available talents out there. And there's a way to tap into, what's available out there. And bridge that gap. You can train them. You can convert some different people from one profession to the other. You can actually create this whole, path where you move them from where they are to where you want them to be, or you can change what you're looking for. But those are all valid options into tapping into the existing talent. So instead of saying there's not enough talent like I want it, maybe think about what you could do with the existing talent. It's just, so simple, so genius. We loved it. So that's one of the ideas. That's the idea that won first prize actually, and we're investing in building that. We were really excited about it.
I love that. And just remind me again, when did that come out? When did that idea come out, Ronnie?
So this was part of the hackathon. This was the winning idea. So that came out a few months ago,
Awesome.
out of the hackathon.
Yeah. And just to give me context then, so looking at it from all these ideas, what maybe you can look at what other items came out of it that might not have won, but like kind of ideas that opened your mind to thinking, okay, that's a good way, because there's a lot of things around employee retention at the moment, around what is it, the big, I forgot what they branded it in the media, but they're saying the big resignation or whatever it is.
Yes, there is the big resignation. And I think, so I think two things that really came out of this discussion. First of all is, people throughout COVID really realized that, they were at home, their whole lives changed, and now going back to the way it was, that's difficult. They actually have to make a really significant effort into going back to normal. Maybe that's not the norm that they want their normal to look like. So maybe that's a paradigm that cannot be shifted, and maybe that's not something that we can solve. Just saying, maybe that normal, we can never really achieve it. But the other thing is throughout, and there were so many initiatives, I think we were holding our heads after each one of the pitches because they were all amazing. We just had to select like the first three ideas. But what was very clear is that there are simple problems that can be dealt with pretty simple solutions. We were looking for something that's quite holistic and that can go, cross jurisdictions as an example, and cross country, so global solution. So some of them weren't relevant, but especially when you look at specific in-country issues, such as how can employees tap into everything that they can reach and deserve, and their rights, but also what's available for them and everything that can be made available for them to make their lives better. And technologies hasn't adapted to its full extent into providing that. Organizations haven't harnessed technology in a way to adapt, to allow for all of that. So I think the expectations of people, especially younger generation, but not necessarily, is that, if technology can provide them almost everything that they need outside of their professional life, they can buy anything they want, they can tap to any type of knowledge throughout their handheld device, etc. They're pretty much expecting to do that in their workplace. So how can we empower organizations to do the same? So some of the things we figured out would have to be an in-country solution, because a lot of those would depend on in-country regulation and specific organization guidelines. But that I think was the theme that came up again and again. Like, how do we make something accessible within the workplace, just as it is outside the workplace?
At people's fingertips, like make it just ready to go. I think.
And when we think about digital, that's really what it is. Just getting that accessible in a way that we consume it in our day-to-day life. And as technology and digitization enhances, that we don't want that gap to be wider. We want to close it, actually. So we actually have to make more effort in the workplace to make that happen.
I love that. That's a great way of looking at it, Ronnie. Yeah. What I'd like to know, so you mentioned that it was like a global program. You said Australia, Switzerland, and this hackathon that went ahead.
UK, Australia, Switzerland, the US.
Amazing. Yeah. And looking from that angle, did you see maybe, I'm a bit obsessed. This is a personal kind of obsession at the moment. Everyone's looking at the future of digital, the future of work, and as you were saying with the 2040 vision, building the future. Do you see anything at the moment from cultural differences? And like I saw yesterday at Saudi Arabia, building a 75-mile long skyscraper or something ridiculous, which is going to cost like $1 trillion or something, which is insane. Like, it's got a lot to do with workforce, but their ideas are a bit more out there rather than maybe, or a bit less conservative. But are you seeing it, to use that as an example, with digital workflow, with digital forces, how people are looking at it differently from maybe Australia compared to the US, and bridging that maybe not communication gap, but seeing what they're working towards? Does that make sense?
It does. And there were quite a few differences. I wouldn't want to get into specifically what each one of the countries focused on more. But I think maybe
Yeah.
supposed to the way that you see this as kind of, okay, they're each looking at this differently. Could we maybe, bridge the gap or educate them a little bit more? What I would say is having everyone in that room connecting into those different views made so much sense, because on one hand, some of the countries are more focused on innovation and really finding those ideas that are outside of that day-to-day reach. Not thinking
That's what I was
about
looking at. Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking at, Ronnie. You've hit the nail on the head, because I was poorly questioning it earlier, but saying what are they focused on? Like, all obviously towards the same goal. But yeah, carry on. Sorry, I just wanted to make
so you can really see some of them were focused on, I have this app now, how could I actually harness it to create so much more? But then some of them were looking like outside of what we're currently doing, right? So and part of this was the mindset of people themselves, some of them culturally. But I think what was really cool is once you got them together, because you don't want to think too much out there. A lot of the really, most brilliant ideas were the most simple ones, and the ones that aren't so far out of reach. We can actually use them, deploy them right now, and they would bridge such a huge gap between where we are and where the digital future of work should be. So, but then you really wanted to put in a little bit of, spice into that. Maybe let's think a little bit further. So bringing that all together. So let me tell you about another one of the teams. They were coming from Australia, thinking about, as we create these drawings, these articulations of discussions, could we use artificial intelligence to create more of that? And and really diving into how innovation is created through a mindset, how what you see visually can really reflect on understanding a discussion, and so how could we really create something that would not be limited by the number of articulators that we have. So amazing idea. Nothing that we even thought about remotely could be, could be relevant to the future of digital work. But it really is, because we all are still going to be in discussions. We're all going to talk. And sometimes it's difficult for us to focus. That those drawings can really kind of focus your mind and get you into the right direction. So how can you harness AI for that? And then, again, some of them really focused on, those who really need to understand what their rights are and how they tap into that. And more of the topic of, diversity and accessibility and so on and so forth. So really multiple prisms and tackling into completely different types of challenges and hurdles that we have between where we are now and getting to, that future that future of work. One thing that was clear throughout this whole day, when we talk about the future of work, digital work or otherwise, it's really, really clear throughout all of this that the human, ourselves as human beings, we're going to be in the center. So that was
agree.
Technology is going to serve us. Technology is going to be this superpower that we can use. It's not going to replace us. It's not only not going to replace us, it will enhance us, but it most of all will serve us for the needs of the things that, we just want to be made easier, so that we will just have technology do that and leave us to do the more complicated things.
Yeah, and to lead to better innovation. Because I was listening to Mark Andreessen, and he was just saying, he's like, look, and this was a recent episode, this is maybe a month old or 2 months old, and he was saying, you can bring out all the new fancy tech you want, it's just like, ultimately, it's always going to be a tool to help us. He's like, we're at the forefront. So I love that he said the same thing. And
I would say not even in the forefront, well, we're in the center, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not just us leading it, it's also pointed at us, it's focused at us, it's focused on making our lives better, on creating a workspace that is, that is good for us, that is beneficial for us, and really changing the way that we work in a way that will serve us as humans. So I love that. That came up again and again and again. And so that was definitely a common theme.
Yeah, because you hit on some really great points as well, and these hackathons sound awesome. So I want to ask in a second what's next. But on that point, like I always get very excited because I think when eventually my kids do go to school or whatever, they'll have these immersive technologies at their fingertips to make them learn better. And I'm a strong believer, whether certain people believe it or not, once you throw yourself into a situation, you can practice surgery all you want until you're in that surgery room actually doing it. It's a bit of a different scenario, and I just wish that I had a VR headset on to walk me through stuff. And I mean, I've tried like Google Glasses for the fast food industry and like how it's like helping with packaging and all that kind of stuff and getting training and development. But I love that these were the kind of things that were being brought up around the immersive experience, because I honestly see it as a tool for everyone to learn a lot quicker, a lot smoother, and a lot faster.
For sure. And we're seeing more and more how, that integrated reality, that mixed reality is something that's going to be so significant in all of the learning experiences and bringing knowledge, throughout the globe. It's simply amazing. That's definitely going to transform the way that we consume knowledge.
Yeah, and quicker lessons, I think, as well, like quick, like you're saying from this. And I'd like to know, were there, before I ask what's next, were there any kind of like free key takeaways that you learned, Ronnie, from this, or free key lessons or free eye openers? You mentioned a few in here, but maybe summing it up for the audience that you really took away from this hackathon that you thought, that's a great idea. And you mentioned one or two, but maybe as a summary point, 2-3 things that you really learned or took away back to KPMG and back, as you said, to your customers and to partners, that kind of area.
Yeah. So actually, what I'd love to reflect on, if that's okay, is the whole process that we went through the hackathon, because that was the biggest eye opener of them all. What happens when you get people to just think together, but not just like as a random exercise, very focused exercise, limited amount of time with people who, most of them, they've not met before. I mean, it was glorious, really, what happened there. So I think that the key takeaways just from that is, in order to be able to do that, we had quite a few, these master classes to take everyone, to get them kind of on the same level of understanding of what technology does and where it is. How does innovation happen? What needs to happen in order to, come from such a wide array of ideas into one that's going to be exactly the one that you believe that will be relevant, and throughout that process. And it's, again, so dense, so short in time, 2 days. Those people received so much, to develop themselves personally. So that's one thing. How easy is that? Second is, throughout those discussions, again, not a general discussion. We have a lot of just open discussions around future of, what's going to happen. But these were focused on finding a solution. And that focused discussion of actually thinking about a solution, an initiative, a product, something that you can create, those were extremely powerful discussions that brought the best out of each and every one. So I love that. And then lastly, around the judges, because we had a panel of judges coming in, again, from BP, the University of Cambridge, Microsoft, from KPMG, and we pretty much had the same view in terms of what we were held back by so many of the things that were outstanding ideas. We were also, excited about the same things, and were hesitant about the same things. And that's also pretty amazing. You take these 4 different organizations from different backgrounds and mindsets, and you see that they're going in the same direction. That is really powerful, and we're definitely going to continue to invest around the future of work, and the future of digital work, together with our ecosystems, and as KPMG, thinking about what the future is going to look like.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I always think together's better, and I always love things that are more collaborative. And I always think, people that are not working in silos, but also looking at it and want to challenge themselves. It's the best way of learning. It's the quickest way of learning. And
we always say, we always say together is better. But when you actually have to be in a room and say, what, if you had to put in, some dollars, would you put it here or there? That's a different type of discussion. It's very tangible with clear outcomes. And I think, biggest thing that came out of that was, when you have to make decisions together and work together and really create something together, it's a different exercise than ideating. So we're definitely thinking of creating more of those not just co-ideations with our ecosystems, but actually co-investments and co-creation together.
Yeah, I love it, Ronnie, and really respectful of your time as well. But I want to ask before you go, and some great points here. But looking at it, you got to tell us or give us a hint. What's next, Ronnie? What have you got? Another exciting initiative for this digital work or future work, or for the 2040 vision? Have you got another hackathon coming? Another initiative? Anything you can share to get us excited?
We have quite a few hackathons planned for the next year. Our new year starts in October, so we're already looking at that. Before that, we have an event happening right now in Australia around digital governments. So there's a lot of things that we're driving around that. But quite a few hackathons planned for next year. I hope I can share a little bit more of that as we go forward. Definitely in the center of all of that will be Web3 and the metaverse. I think that's something that we're focusing with our markets and with our different ecosystems, really thinking about, okay, how is this going to affect each one of the sectors and the market in general, and what part is KPMG going to play in all of that? So really exciting times. We're looking at multiple things that are going to change in the financial sector, very heavily influenced by all of the blockchain based technologies from the digital currencies and definitely Web3 and the economies that emerge out of that. Retail and consumer markets, we're looking at the governments, and we're looking at how tax is going to be influenced by that, what digital assets are going to look like. So that is definitely a theme that we're looking at. And as I mentioned, it's not just that together is better. We're going to do this with our ecosystems, but we're actually going to co-create together with them. So I hope I can share a little bit more next time we meet.
Oh yeah, Ronnie, we've got many more conversations ahead of us. I can already tell. And hopefully we can do one of these in person sometime soon, as I was saying before.
Oh, so. I definitely hope so. I definitely hope.
It'll be a lot of fun. I know that there's a lot of conferences, a lot of opportunities coming up. But Ronnie, I really appreciate you joining us today and sharing everything around what you're doing, around how this hackathon worked, and what your kind of outlook is for the 2040 vision. And I'm also very excited to keep listening to the podcast as well. So I encourage anyone to listen in on that, because you really are looking at it from not just one angle, which can sometimes happen, a real, as you were just mentioning there, all the technologies and how they all come back to the ecosystem and driving it forward. So I love it. It's been a real pleasure, Ronnie.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Tom.
Look forward to the next one.